The 1972 policy recommended free and compulsory education, but it also set targets for that. It recommended that by October 1972, free and compulsory education would be available up to the middle level. And by October 1974, which is in another 2 years, there would be free education up to matric, which is grade 10. Now, setting these targets is wonderful, and saying that education will be free and compulsory is even more wonderful. How was it to be done? What achievements were made in this regard? After all, the 70 policy talked about that, the 59 Commission recommended that also. But if we are still 10, 12, 15 years after some of these commissions and policies came about, if we are still looking at the same thing, if our targets are still the same, free compulsory education, primary level, free compulsory education, middle level, free compulsory education, secondary level, when are we to achieve it? Setting these targets, I personally think the 1972 October target was a little too close. This is the 1972 policy. It probably came out at the change of the fiscal year in June or July. So in 3, 4, 5 months to say there will be free education up to middle level was, I think, a little stretched. But if it had said by 74 it would be there and then maybe 2 years later further down, but individuals had to work towards achieving those targets, or they will just remain targets. Technical education. Now, this policy also recommends strongly technical education, again realizing that all students will not be going to professional colleges. So, what does a student do after grade 10 or grade 12? Sit at home, find a job, while other people go and get professional education? No. Technical education was stressed. And it was recommended that all polytechnic institutions across the country be upgraded to polytechnic colleges. After all, a college is a college and an institution is an institution. And so when you say, I am going to a polytechnic college, it sounds much better. It gives a real boost even to those students receiving technical education saying, I'm going to a college, opposed to, I'm going to a polytechnic institution. So, good suggestion, good recommendation. The students will be provided 2 years of practical training after passing a 3-year diploma course. So students would be spending 5 years in a polytechnic college. 3 years trying to get a diploma with some hands-on experience, but then 2 full years of practical training in whatever area or discipline or whatever skill that you needed. Plumbing or carpentry or electrician or refrigerator mechanic or car mechanic or whatever it might be. That's not important. The thing was, after spending 5 years in a polytechnic college, the chances of the individual getting a better job, maybe even getting a better salary, would be probable, opposed to simply going to a polytechnic and getting a simple diploma. Subjects that were introduced were industrial arts, weaving, tannery. After all, we have a good leather industry here. Woodwork, masonry, glass making. Those were the areas that were needed to be introduced also. Not just the routine things that we had, but how do you bring in the new things in technical education also? So, with the polytechnics becoming colleges, you could provide further areas and disciplines for them to work with. Diploma holders from polytechnics would be allowed a BTech, which is a Bachelor in Technical Education degree, after passing a course of 1 year. So if you had a diploma from a polytechnic college and you went to a university for a year, you could exchange that diploma, or you could be promoted from simply being a diploma holder to being a bachelor degree holder.